Hi, welcome back. This is part 2 of a series where I cover writing systems of the world. In the first part I covered alphabets and abjads, which you can see up here. This part will be about syllabic scripts. These are writing systems in which symbols represent syllables and not individual sounds. As I mentioned in the previous video, there are many ways to categorize writing systems. I just use a simple method in these videos. And also there are quite a few tonal languages which I show examples of, so of course my pronunciation is not going to be perfect at all. So the main types of syllabic scripts are syllabaries, alphasyllabaries, and logograms.
Syllabaries. These are writing systems in which symbols represent syllables instead of individual vowel or consonant sounds. Sometimes individual vowels exist in these languages, but usually vowel and consonant sounds are connected to one symbol. Common examples of these are Cherokee, Japanese hiragana, Japanese katakana, and the Yi languages. Cherokee is a Native American language that is spoken by minority groups in Oklahoma and North Carolina. It categorizes letters based on their consonant. Here are vowels on their own, here they are with G at the start, and here they are with H at the start. Even though these letters resemble letters from other alphabets, they generally have no similarity in pronunciation. For example, thank you is wado, which looks like the letters G and D. Japanese, of course, is used in Japan. Each letter represents a syllable like this: hiragana, katakana. Hiragana and katakana are generally identical and can be used interchangeably. Some of them look similar, but others don't.
I did actually try learning hiragana a while back, just to see what it's like, and I underestimated how long it would take. I tried it for a few days, and it takes probably a month or so at least to memorize it, because there's a lot to memorize.
Unlike with alphabets, letters do not repeat. In Latin, there are 10 letters to memorize here. But put this into hiragana and no symbol repeats, so you have to learn 25.
The Yi languages are spoken by the Yi people, which is a minority group in China. Now, I'm not even going to attempt to post or show an example here, because just looking at the writing system, it's one of the most complicated I've ever seen. They have about 756 symbols, which all represent syllables, and that's just way too complicated for me.
Alphasyllabaries. These are like a combination between an alphabet and a syllabary. These languages have consonants and vowels, but the vowels are secondary and are added to consonants to form syllables. Common examples are Burmese, Devanagari, Lao, Thai, and Tibetan. Thai is spoken in Thailand. Devanagari is used in a lot of Indian languages in India. Burmese is spoken in Myanmar or Burma. Tibetan is spoken in areas of China, and Lao is spoken in Laos.
These are quite similar to consonant alphabets mentioned in part 1. The main difference being that in consonant alphabets, vowels are optional, but in alphasyllabaries, they are not. I can't give examples of all of these, so I'll just give examples for 2. Here is a Hindi example.
Here are some vowels written separately, and here they are written with a consonant. As you can see, they attach themselves to the top, the side, or the bottom of consonants. Here's a sentence meaning, hello, how are you? Highlighted, you can see which symbol is which. This is something like, Namaste, aap kaise hain? It's fairly self-explanatory here, and there is not much to explain.
From what I've seen, Hindi and Devanagari look very phonetic and not too complicated. But here is where things get complicated. Here is a Thai example.
In the following word, we have an S or a T, a W, and a D. The vowels are an A and an E. So we have sawadi. The first letter is pronounced as a sa, even though there is no vowel. I'm not sure why this happens. We then have a W with an A above. Next we have the same letter as the first, but this time it is pronounced as a T, which I don't understand why. Then we have a D and an E above. In the next word we have an S or a T, a B or a P, a Y, a D or a T, an H and an M. The vowels are an A, an E and an I. This says something like Sabay di mai. The first letter again is pronounced as sa, then a B, an A and a Y written separately. Then we have the D again, and this is where my understanding vanishes. Here the I is written first, and then the H appears to be silent, and the M is written at the end.
Thai is just one of those languages that has spelling problems. It got its script from an old Khmer language, and it wasn't fully suited. The script wasn't fully suited for its language, and it was more adapted. For example, they have about 44 consonant symbols, but only 21 consonant sounds. So they have lots of spelling problems. So I can't fully understand these rules to explain them, because it would take a lot of experience learning the language itself.
Logograms. In these writing systems, symbols or characters can represent whole words or syllables while also representing meaning. Pronunciation can't be obtained from these characters and needs to already be known. The two examples are the Chinese languages and Japanese kanji. Chinese, of course, is used in China across many languages and dialects. They are written in either traditional form or simplified form. These are generally the same, just with either more or less strokes. Traditional characters are only used mainly in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau. Here's an example from Mandarin. Just seeing these characters, you wouldn't know how to pronounce them, unless you already know how to. Characters are romanized using what's called pinyin, and looks like this. This is pronounced Zhongguo. These characters literally mean middle or center and state, and this means China. And here we have Baoji, a combination of to judge, to avenge, and paper, and this means newspaper.
Of course, there are thousands of these characters to learn, as you can see just looking at Unicode, but there are some things that can help you.
Chinese characters have what are called radicals, which are the basic components of characters. Here you can see this radical being used in multiple characters. Some radicals can give a hint at the pronunciation, and some a hint at the meaning. For example, here is the water radical. Here it is used in ocean, river, and stream. So seeing this character lets you know that it has something to do with water.
Now I've mentioned Japanese twice, and this is because it doesn't just use two alphasyllabaries, but it also uses Chinese characters. For example, in this sentence, all three systems are used. Kanji, the word for Chinese characters, are usually used for nouns and words from Chinese origin. Hiragana is used for grammar and words of Japanese origin, and katakana is used for foreign words. Sometimes kanji combinations aren't too logical.
Here is the character for day, book, and word. What happens when we join day, book, and word together? We get Nihongo, which means Japanese.
Characters in Japanese can also have lots of ways to pronounce them. For example, this character has a lot of ways to pronounce it depending on the phrase. Now there is one more script that I haven't mentioned, and that's because I didn't know where to put it, and that is the Korean script Hangul. It is generally considered to be an alphabet, but I don't think it's that simple. For example, they have separate consonants and vowels, but these are grouped together in clusters of either 2 or 3 letters. From a foreign perspective, it does look quite complicated, but it's not always the case. For example, they have consonants, then they have vowels, and then they have double vowels. But if you ignore the double vowels, they only have 24 letters.
Letters have to be combined together in clusters. For example, in this word for milk, uyu, a placeholder symbol has to be used when there is only a vowel sound. Here's the phrase for hello. 2 of these clusters have 3 letters, and the other 3 have 2. Each cluster is pronounced an, nyo, ha, se, yo. So we have 안녕하세요.
One thing that makes Hangul easier to learn is they are based on the shape of your mouth used to make the sounds.
For example, B and P are made with the same mouth shape, and their symbols look similar. Same with D and T, and so on.
So that's all for this video series. It definitely took quite a lot more research than I normally do. I hope this was informative. Thank you for watching.